Abigail stood at the edge of her small garden, the sun casting a warm glow on her face. At 50 years old, she was filled with dreams that still danced in her heart, but life had taken unexpected turns. She had always imagined being surrounded by love and laughter as she aged, sharing stories with her family while sipping tea on the porch. Instead, she found herself grappling with loneliness and uncertainty. Life had not been easy for Abigail. She had raised her daughter Lily mostly on her own after losing her husband years ago. They had struggled, but Abigail worked hard to create a nurturing home for Lily. She cherished their time together, taking pride in the little things, reading stories at bedtime, cooking meals from scratch, and teaching Lily about the beauty of nature. Yet, as the years rolled on, Abigail longed for companionship, a partner to share her life with once again. When she met Mark, he seemed to be the answer to her prayers. He was charming and attentive, bringing a spark of hope into her world. As their relationship blossomed, Abigail dared to dream of a future filled with love and stability. But soon after they discovered they were expecting a child together, Mark's true colors emerged. His promises turned into empty words as his own fears and insecurities took over. One fateful evening, he left without looking back, leaving Abigail standing alone in their modest home with shattered dreams. Now abandoned while pregnant and with Lily by her side, Abigail felt like she was walking through a fog of despair. The dusty road stretched out before them seemed endless and daunting. They had lost everything, her heart ached for the love that was promised but never delivered. Holding Lily's hand tightly, she tried to mask her own fears with a brave face. "We will find our way," she reassured Lily, though doubt crept into her voice. As they walked further down that lonely path, Abigail couldn't help but think about how quickly life could change. Just yesterday, she had held on to hope. Today, she was left with uncertainty and fear for what lay ahead. With every step they took away from what was once their home, Abigail thought of all the sacrifices she had made for love and how it had led them here, lost and alone. But amidst the gloom of their situation, there was a flicker of resilience within Abigail. She remembered her grandmother's words, "When life gets tough, we must rise like the sun after a storm." This thought encouraged Abigail as they continued down the road. After all, she still had Lily by her side, a bright light in an otherwise dark moment. As they reached a bend in the road, Abigail noticed a figure sitting on a nearby log. It was Jacob, a man who looked worn but kind-hearted. He had recently lost his wife and faced his own battles with debt and sorrow. Yet there was something in Jacob's eyes that sparked curiosity within Abigail, a glimmer of understanding between two souls who had known loss. With hesitant steps forward, Abigail approached him alongside Lily. The weight of their situation felt heavy in the air as she introduced herself softly while keeping an eye on her daughter's expression. In that moment of vulnerability, Jacob offered them not just food but also a chance for connection, a lifeline thrown into turbulent waters. Little did they know that this encounter would change everything. With kindness flowing between them like an unseen current on that dusty road, hope began to weave its way back into Abigail's heart, reminding her that sometimes help comes from unexpected places when you need it most. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows across the dusty road as Abigail and Lily stood at the remnants of a life that once was. The air felt heavy with silence, broken only by the distant sound of rustling leaves and Abigail's heavy sigh. Just moments before, their world had been full of hope until it all came crashing down. Mark's voice echoed in Abigail's mind, sharp and bitter. "I can't deal with this," he had said, his face twisted with frustration and fear as he pushed past them to grab his things. "You're ruining my life." The hurt in his words cut deeper than any knife. How could he abandon them when they needed him the most? With shaking hands, Abigail clutched Lily's arm, fear washing over her like a cold tide. "Where will we go, Mom?" Lily asked, her voice trembling with uncertainty. The 16-year-old's eyes were wide, reflecting a mix of confusion and disbelief as if she could not comprehend the reality that had just unfolded. They stood there for a moment, frozen in time, standing on the threshold between their former life and a future that felt bleak. Without another word, Abigail felt an overwhelming urge to move forward. "We'll figure this out, sweetheart," she whispered, trying to mask her own confusion with forced optimism. But deep down inside her heart felt like it was shattering into a million pieces. Together, they started walking down the dusty road, the sun setting behind them as if it were saying goodbye to their past life. Each step felt heavier than the last. Doubts clouded Abigail's mind like storm clouds gathering overhead. How did she get here? All she ever wanted was to build a happy home where love thrived, a place filled with laughter and joy. "Why did he leave us?" Lily asked after a few moments of silence, breaking through Abigail's swirling thoughts. Her voice trembled with anger and hurt, making Abigail's heart ache even more for her daughter's pain. I don't know," Abigail replied softly, tears threatening to spill from her eyes. "Sometimes people make choices we don't understand." She glanced at Lily, wishing desperately that she could shield her from all the heartbreak in the world. Fear crept into every corner of their hearts as they walked on. Uncertainty loomed large. What awaited them along this road? Would they find shelter for the night? Would they have enough to eat? Questions raced through Abigail's mind like echoes in a vast emptiness. As twilight began to drape itself over the land like a heavy blanket, they passed by bedraggled trees lining the path, a mirror of their own emotions, bare and worn but still standing tall against an unforgiving world. The darkness encroached slowly but surely, its presence amplified their sense of isolation and longing for comfort. Abigail felt her grip tighten on Lily's hand as they walked farther away from everything familiar. Each step took them further into an unknown future. It terrified her how quickly everything had unraveled, one moment surrounded by dreams and plans for tomorrow, now standing lost on this desolate road without direction or guidance. Suddenly, Lily stumbled over a rock jutting out of the dirt path. She quickly regained her balance but looked up at her mother with newfound fear in her eyes. "Will we be okay?" she asked timidly. Abigail knelt down beside her daughter, cupping Lily's face gently in her hands. "We will be okay," she promised, but inside, doubt twisted around her heart like ivy clinging to a wall. That night would mark not just an ending but also a new beginning, pulled together by resilience born out of love, a flicker of hope waiting just beyond the shadows of despair. As Abigail and Lily continued down the dusty road, an unexpected figure emerged in the dimming light. Jacob sat on a log beside the path, hunched over with his head resting in his hands. He looked worn out, as if life itself had pressed down upon him far too heavily. At 52, he was a tall man with deep-set eyes that seemed to carry a storm of emotions, grief, worry, and perhaps even a flicker of hope. Jacob had been a widower for 2 long years after losing his beloved wife, Sarah, to illness. Their happy life together had been filled with laughter and dreams of family gatherings. But that cheerful world crumbled when Sarah's laughter faded away. In her absence, Jacob struggled to keep their small farm afloat. Bills piled up like the dead leaves around him, each one reminding him of how quickly joy can turn into sorrow. Despite pouring every ounce of effort into keeping his farm running, things hadn't improved. The harvests were meager at best, making it hard to provide for himself alone, let alone anyone else. As debt collectors knocked on his door and creditors hounded him for payment, Jacob was forced to make difficult choices that weighed heavily on his heart. He often found himself wondering how he'd turn the sinking ship around while trying to honor the memory of Sarah. That day had been particularly hard. He had sold off a few chickens and part of his dwindling grain supply just to pay for the bills that loomed over his head. With each sale came an ache, not just from losing tangible things but also from the fear of losing what little stability remained in his life. As he sat there lost in thought, Jacob noticed movement further down the path, a mother and her daughter approaching slowly, each step labored with weariness and uncertainty painted clearly across their faces. When they finally drew near enough for him to see them properly, something within triggered an instinctive sense of compassion that sprang forth with surprising urgency. "Hello there," he called out softly, trying not to startle them. Abigail looked hesitant at first but then managed a weak smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Jacob could see the bruising sorrow etched into both their faces. The haunted look in Abigail's eyes mirrored his own despair, while Lily appeared quietly frightened yet brave in her own right. "Are you lost?" Jacob asked gently as they came closer. "No," Abigail replied slowly. "Just looking for somewhere safe." Her voice trembled slightly as she spoke those words, laden with unspoken pain. With nothing but empathy surging through him, Jacob shifted on his log and offered them a bit of comfort he could spare, a crust of bread he had baked earlier that day. It was rough and crusty now, but it was all he could offer at this moment. "Please," he said sincerely, "take this." Abigail hesitated momentarily before taking it from him, as though accepting kindness felt foreign amidst her tumultuous day. "Thank you," she murmured softly while offering the piece to Lily first. It was all she could think of at that moment, making sure her daughter felt cared for even when everything seemed shattered around them. "You're not alone," Jacob continued as they accepted his humble offering. An unintentional bond formed between their 3 souls in that very moment, a connection born out of hardship and resilience amid uncertain circumstances. Despite their individual battles etched deeply into their lives like scars on bark from storms weathered countless times before, somehow there was warmth emanating between them like newfound sunlight filtering through dense clouds above. "I have a small cottage nearby," Jacob offered further, still wrestling with memories of what may lie ahead should they accept this meager invitation into his world, one filled with its own struggles yet shimmering faintly under layers of grief. "We would be grateful for any help," Abigail replied cautiously but appreciatively. Within her heart grew thrumming waves of hope. The flicker, ignited further by extraordinary kindness, sprawled incandescently along paths crossed unplanned under heavy clouds laden with tribulation. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a golden hue over the landscape, Jacob sat on his log, still trying to process the weight of his own struggles. The day had been difficult. He had sold what little he could spare from his farm, but it never felt like enough to ease the relentless pressure of his debts. His heart was heavy, but so was his stomach, and he had only a small crust of bread left, his last meal until he could find a way to make ends meet again. But then, as if fate had intervened, he spotted Abigail and Lily approaching. Their silhouettes were framed against the fading light, and even from a distance, he could see the weariness etched into their faces. It tugged at something deep within him, a sense of duty to help, even when he himself was struggling. When they finally reached him, Abigail looked hesitant, her eyes reflecting a cocktail of emotions: fear, hope, and a desperate need for reassurance. Jacob felt an immediate connection with them. He could see the same kind of burden in their eyes that he carried every day. He straightened up and offered them a gentle smile, hoping to ease their tension. "Hello there," Jacob greeted softly, trying to convey warmth. "You look like you've been through quite a journey." "We have," Abigail replied, her voice trembling slightly. "We're looking for somewhere safe." The simple admission seemed to weigh heavily on her shoulders. As they spoke, Jacob couldn't help but notice how Lily clung to her mother's side, her youthful face marred by worry yet still holding on to an air of bravery. It reminded him of Sarah, of how she always managed to find light even in the darkest times. With that thought in mind, he felt an undeniable urge to help them. "Please," Jacob said gently, "let me share something with you." He reached into his pocket and pulled out the crust of bread. It was rough and crusty, hardly a feast, but it was all he had left. "I can't let you go without something to eat." Abigail hesitated for a moment, disbelief flickering across her eyes. "Are you sure?" "We don't want to take what little you have," she said, her voice filled with both gratitude and concern. "It's just bread," Jacob insisted with an earnest smile. "You need it more than I do right now." He held it out toward them, feeling the warmth of kindness blossoming in his chest. With a cautious hand, Abigail accepted the crust and immediately broke it in half, offering the larger piece to Lily first. "Here, sweetheart," she said softly. Jacob watched as Lily's eyes widened in surprise and gratitude. She accepted it eagerly, her expression transforming from anxiety to relief. "Thank you," Lily murmured around a mouthful of bread, her small voice filled with genuine appreciation. Watching them share that moment sparked something within Jacob, a flicker of hope amidst his own darkness. "You're not alone," he said sincerely, hoping his words would offer them some comfort. Then, feeling an urge to offer more than just food, he continued, "I have a small cottage nearby where you could stay for a while if you need shelter." It was a vulnerable offer, one that made him question if he was making the right choice, but something about the two of them stirred compassion deep within him. Abigail's expression shifted from surprise to cautious determination as she met Jacob's gaze. "Are you certain?" "We wouldn't want to impose on you," she replied, her voice steadying as hope began to take root. "Trust me," Jacob reassured gently. "I may not have much, but I can share what I have for now." In that moment, he felt as if they were all connected by an invisible thread of resilience, a bond formed through shared pain and the act of kindness that flowed between them. As twilight enveloped the landscape in rich colors of purple and deep blue, Abigail nodded slowly. "We would be grateful for any help," she said earnestly. Jacob felt a warmth spread through him, something akin to happiness mixed with purpose as they prepared to walk together toward his cottage. That simple act of sharing bread and offering shelter ignited a spark of hope for all three of them in their time of need. As the days turned into weeks, Abigail, Jacob, and Lily settled into a new rhythm within the small cottage, a cozy refuge that felt warmer with each passing moment. The cottage, though modest and worn, had its own charm. Sunlight filtering through the dusty windows illuminated the wooden floorboards, while the scent of fresh herbs from Jacob's little garden filled the air with promise. Every morning began with a sense of purpose. Jacob would rise early to tend to his chickens and check on his crops, while Abigail prepared breakfast for them all. The simple act of cooking together became one of their cherished routines. On one particular morning, as Abigail scrambled eggs with a few herbs Jacob had gathered, laughter erupted when Lily attempted to flip a pancake but ended up splattering batter everywhere. "Look at this masterpiece," Lily joked, grinning as she pointed at the mess. Abigail joined in her laughter, the sound echoing warmly throughout the cottage. Jacob couldn't help but chuckle too. This was joy he hadn't experienced in a long time. It brought lightness to their hearts amid their struggles. After breakfast, they would gather outside to work together on small projects around the property. They built a rickety fence around Jacob's garden to keep out wandering animals. Despite limited resources and tools that often seemed inadequate, they tackled each task with creativity and determination. One afternoon, while gathering stones for a path leading to the entrance of the cottage, Lily discovered an unusual rock shaped like a heart. "Look what I found," she exclaimed excitedly, showing it to Abigail and Jacob. "That's beautiful," Abigail said with genuine delight. "We should place it at the entrance of our garden as a good luck charm." Jacob nodded in agreement. "A perfect idea. Let's make our garden feel even more like home." Together they carefully laid out the stones along the path, and that heart-shaped rock became a symbol of their shared journey, a reminder that love could blossom even in difficult times. As they worked side by side, conversations flowed easily between them. Stories of childhood dreams and lost loves shared under sunlit skies created deeper bonds than any words alone could express. Jacob spoke fondly of Sarah and how her laughter filled their home. Abigail shared snippets of her life before everything changed, the dreams she had for her family and how fiercely she loved her daughter. In those moments of vulnerability and connection, they began to heal, not just individually but also as a newly formed family unit. They laughed over silly jokes while they worked and celebrated small victories together, planting seeds in neat rows or finally getting that stubborn fence post straightened out after several attempts. One evening, as twilight painted shadows across their workspace, Jacob surprised them both by bringing out an old guitar he hadn't played since Sarah's passing. He strummed it gently, filling the air with soft melodies that wrapped around them like a warm hug. Lily's eyes sparkled with excitement as she begged him to teach her how to play. "Maybe I'll give you lessons," he teased back playfully while teaching her simple chords later that night near an open window where fireflies danced outside. Abigail watched their interaction with warmth blooming in her chest. This was what she had longed for, a sense of belonging and joy woven into everyday life amidst uncertainty. That night concluded with them sitting around a flickering candle on their kitchen table after finishing dinner, sharing stories about dreams for the future beyond survival now that hope was gradually taking root in each heart present within those humble walls. Building this new life wasn't without its challenges. There were still debts looming over Jacob's head and uncertainties surrounding Abigail's pregnancy. But together they faced each day with newfound resilience marked by laughter echoing warmly through their little cottage where love bloomed alongside adversity like wildflowers breaking free from concrete cracks. As the weeks turned into months, the initial joy of living together in the cottage began to give way to the reality of cohabitation's challenges. While Abigail, Jacob, and Lily had forged a bond built on hope and shared experiences, blending their lives under one roof was not without its complications. One of the most pressing issues was managing finances. Jacob's debts still loomed large, and although he worked tirelessly on his farm, the income barely covered their needs. Abigail had used her savings to escape from her previous life, but those funds dwindled quickly. They often found themselves sitting around the kitchen table late at night, calculating expenses and wondering how they would make it through another week. "We need to be careful with our spending," Jacob said one evening as he flipped through bills that seemed never-ending. "If we can cut back on some things, maybe we can afford a bit more food this month." Abigail nodded in agreement but felt a tight knot in her stomach. "I wish I could contribute more," she admitted, her voice tinged with worry. "I don't want us to struggle because of me." Lily sat quietly at the table, absorbing their conversation. She felt the weight of her mother's concerns and wanted to help as well. "Maybe I can take on extra chores or help out with your garden more," she offered hopefully. While their determination was admirable, it also bred tension. Sometimes disagreements arose over decisions that seemed simple but were complicated by their different backgrounds and past experiences. One afternoon, Jacob suggested they should buy seeds for a new crop he hoped would yield better results. "Let's invest in something reliable," Abigail interjected, her brow furrowing with concern. "We can't risk money on something uncertain. We've already lost so much." "I understand your worries," Jacob replied gently but firmly. "But if we only play it safe, we won't grow. We need to take some chances to improve our situation." These discussions often ended in silence. Both sides were resolute yet hesitant to give in completely. The financial strain exposed deeper fears for each of them, fears of failure and of letting down those they cared about most. Beyond finances, there were moments when blending their families felt awkward and unfamiliar. For instance, Lily often found herself unsure of where she fit within this new dynamic. While Jacob treated her with kindness and respect, she missed the traditional family moments with just her mother. One evening after dinner, Lily hesitated before approaching Abigail while they washed dishes together. "Mom," she began tentatively. "Yes," Abigail replied, turning towards her daughter with curiosity. "I love living here and I like Jacob," Lily admitted softly, glancing down at the suds bubbling around her hands as if trying to find courage in them. "But sometimes I wish it was just us again." Abigail paused for a moment before placing a soapy hand on Lily's shoulder. "I understand that feeling, sweetheart," she said gently. "It's okay to miss what we had before." She took a deep breath before continuing, "But this new family is special too." Jacob overheard their conversation from the other room and entered with an understanding smile on his face. "You both mean so much to me," he said earnestly. "We're all learning together how to be family in our own way." His presence offered comfort. They all needed time to adjust, and acknowledging their feelings opened a door for healing. Even though challenges lay beneath their blossoming bond, the tension between financial burdens and emotional adjustments, they were learning that love could smooth even the roughest edges of cohabitation. The cottage filled with laughter during moments shared over simple meals or evenings spent playing music together served as reminders that joy could still thrive among obstacles. Day by day, they navigated these difficulties together, each challenge presenting opportunities for growth rather than fuels for division, allowing them to discover new strengths within themselves and each other as they built not just a shared home but also a newly defined family amidst uncertainties yet to come. As the weeks passed and the initial struggles of cohabitation began to settle into a routine, Abigail, Jacob, and Lily discovered that laughter had become their greatest source of wealth. In a world where money was tight and resources scarce, it was the joy they shared that filled their home with light and warmth. Laughter became a thread weaving through their days, binding them together even when life felt overwhelming. One sunny afternoon, while tending to the garden, Jacob decided to play a little prank on Lily. As she bent down to pull weeds, he hid behind a bush and yelled out, "Watch out for the giant radish monster." Lily squealed in surprise as she turned around to see him grinning with mischief. The playful shout echoed through the garden, and soon enough, Abigail joined in the laughter. "I think we need to be careful," Abigail chimed in with mock seriousness. "Those creatures can be quite stubborn." Lily burst into giggles, wiping tears of laughter from her cheeks. "What do we do if they come after us?" she teased back. "We'll have to arm ourselves with forks," Jacob replied, brandishing a gardening fork like a sword. They all erupted into laughter again, and for that moment, the weight of their worries lifted away like the clouds parting for sunshine. Evenings were moments of connection filled with more laughter as well. After finishing dinner each night, they often gathered around the small kitchen table to play games or tell stories. One night, they decided to try their hand at charades, a game that sparked creativity and humor in equal measure. Jacob acted out an exaggerated chicken dance while clucking loudly. Both Abigail and Lily laughed so hard they could hardly guess what he was doing. "You're definitely a hen from our farm," Lily shouted between fits of giggles. Then it was Abigail's turn, and she mimicked an artist painting a masterpiece with flamboyant brush strokes. Jacob pretended to be her critic, putting on an exaggeratedly serious face as he inspected her imaginary canvas. "I see you've captured the essence of chaos beautifully," he declared dramatically. By the end of the evening, they were all breathless from laughter, each silly act and playful jest reinforcing their growing bond as if sealing it with joy. These shared moments became priceless treasures amidst their daily struggles. They reminded each other that happiness could still thrive even when times were tough. The community around them also began to notice this blossoming family spirit. Neighbors stopped by more often, not just for exchanges of goods or help but also to share in the goodwill emanating from their cottage. Children would come over to play with Lily while adults exchanged recipes or gardening tips with Abigail and Jacob. One sunny Saturday morning, they decided to host a small gathering for their neighbors, something simple yet meaningful. They prepared sandwiches and lemonade made from Jacob's homegrown lemons while setting up chairs outside beneath an old oak tree that provided generous shade. As neighbors arrived with smiles on their faces and dishes in hand, laughter filled the air once again as stories were shared around the table. One neighbor recounted the hilarious escapades of his mischievous goats while another showed off her recently baked pies, each story adding layers of connection among everyone present. In those moments of community gathering, where laughter intertwined among strains of camaraderie, they found strength beyond what they had imagined possible together. It was evident that joy was becoming more than just an escape, it was turning into fuel that ignited resilience within them all. Through these experiences filled with fun and friendship amid adversity, they learned that laughter indeed was wealth, the kind that couldn't be measured in coins but could fill hearts abundantly instead. The kind of treasure that created bonds woven tightly through shared experiences and joyful moments spent together in love's embrace. As they continued building not only their home but also relationships within this newfound family unit, Abigail, Jacob, and Lily discovered life's richness lay less in material wealth and much more in shared smiles echoing warmly through humble walls where love thrived unabated against any challenge thrown in their path. As the seasons changed, so did Abigail's pregnancy, bringing with it a renewed sense of purpose and hope for the future. With Jacob and Lily by her side, she found strength in their support and encouragement, which allowed her to embrace this new chapter in her life despite the challenges that had come before. Abigail had always cherished the idea of being a mother again, yet fear had gripped her heart since she discovered she was pregnant. But now, surrounded by warmth and laughter in the cottage, she began to feel the worries slowly melt away. Each day that passed seemed to fill her with joy and anticipation rather than dread. One bright morning, as the sunlight streamed through the window, Abigail woke up feeling vibrant and hopeful. She gazed down at her growing belly, placing a gentle hand on it as she felt a fluttering movement inside, a reminder of life blossoming within her. "Hello there," she whispered softly, a smile spreading across her face. "Good morning," Jacob greeted cheerfully as he entered the room, holding a tray laden with breakfast, a colorful array of freshly picked fruits and warm bread from their oven. "I hope you're hungry." "Starving," Abigail laughed, feeling grateful for his thoughtfulness. They shared breakfast together, each bite filled with delightful flavors and warmth that nourished not just their bodies but also their spirits. As they ate, Jacob turned to Abigail with a thoughtful expression. "Have you thought about names yet?" he asked gently. Abigail's eyes sparkled with excitement as she pondered his question. "I have," she replied eagerly. "I've always liked the name Clara for a girl, something classic and strong." "I love that," Lily chimed in from across the table, enthusiasm dancing in her voice. "And if it's a boy?" Abigail shrugged playfully. Maybe we could choose something unique, like Rowan or Felix. That sounds perfect. Jacob added with a nod. Whatever you decide will surely be special. With shared dreams floating between them over breakfast, Abigail felt inspired anew. The more they talked about their hopes for this child, the more excited she became about the future they were building together as a family. As days turned into weeks, Abigail found herself involved in various activities around the cottage that kept her spirits high and body active. She spent afternoons planting herbs alongside Lily. Each time they buried seeds into rich soil, both mother and daughter dreamed about what they would grow together, not just in their garden but as a family. It was on one such day, while kneeling among rows of freshly planted seedlings, that Abigail felt another flutter, the faint yet magical reminder of life within her once more filling her heart with joy. She looked up at Lily, who was trying to catch ladybugs clinging to nearby leaves, and couldn't help but smile at how vibrant this new life was making them feel. Emotions surged through her as she reflected on how far they had all come since taking refuge in this little cottage. It was now filled with love, laughter, and anticipation, far from abandonment and loneliness. Abigail also began attending small gatherings organized by neighbors who were eager to welcome them into the community fully. It was there, amidst friendly faces, over shared meals and laughter, that she discovered supportive friendships blossoming around her like wildflowers after rain. During one gathering under the oak tree where they'd hosted their first neighborhood meetup, Abigail felt confident enough to share news of her pregnancy with everyone present. The moment she announced it brought cheers and smiles all around, showcasing how much love surrounded her even amidst uncertainty. "Let's host a baby shower," one neighbor suggested excitedly when they caught wind of Abigail's news. "Oh no, it's too soon," Abigail replied bashfully, but couldn't help smiling at their enthusiasm for something so personal. "It's never too soon. We'll celebrate this beautiful moment," another neighbor chimed in warmly. Each supportive gesture contributed to Abigail's positive outlook on motherhood. Her fears began transforming into eager anticipation as days passed, surrounded by reminders that they were all embarking on this journey together. With every joyful experience shared among cohabitants blossoming into friendships and nurturing moments spent imagining brighter tomorrows, Abigail embraced hope like never before, fully confident that no matter what challenges lay ahead for them all, love would continue to guide them through tumultuous waters toward shores yet unseen. As the weeks flowed smoothly into months, the deepening bond between Abigail, Jacob, and Lily became a beautiful tapestry woven from shared experiences, laughter, and mutual support. The cottage was no longer just a place to live, it had transformed into a home filled with love and understanding, where each member of the new family found strength in one another. Abigail started to feel more comfortable in her role as a mother-to-be, even while learning how to balance her responsibilities with Jacob's needs and Lily's youthful exuberance. She often found herself marveling at Jacob's gentle nature as he took on tasks around the house, fixing leaks or tending to the garden while whistling happy tunes. These were small moments that made her heart swell with affection. She admired not just his physical capabilities but also his unwavering support during such a transformative period in her life. One afternoon, as they worked together on sprucing up the garden, Abigail noticed something different in Jacob's demeanor. He was carefully planting new seeds while sharing stories of how his late wife had loved gardening too. "Sarah always said every flower tells a story," he reminisced, his eyes reflecting warmth. "We planted these sunflowers together, and I still remember the way she laughed when some turned out taller than us. It must have been wonderful to share that with her," Abigail replied softly, feeling grateful for his openness. "I can see how much joy it brought you both." Jacob smiled at Abigail, appreciating her empathy. "We created so many memories here, it makes me smile to share them." In that moment, Abigail recognized how Jacob was allowing her into his past while also creating space for their future together, a delicate dance that deepened their connection. In the evenings after dinner, they would often gather in the living room for quiet moments, playing cards or reading books aloud while Lily curled up on the sofa with her sketchpad. One evening, as Jacob strummed his old guitar and sang softly, Abigail felt soothed by the melody. She watched as Lily began to draw whimsical creatures inspired by the music, her talent blossoming right before their eyes. "What do you think of this one?" Lily asked excitedly after completing a fantastical creature with big eyes and colorful wings. Abigail leaned over to look at Lily's artwork closely. "Oh my goodness! How wonderful! It looks like it could fly straight from your page." Her genuine excitement lit up Lily's face. Each encouragement from Abigail nurtured Lily's creativity and confidence. As days turned into nights filled with laughter and dreams shared over candlelight discussions about their hopes for the baby, it became clear that they were not just becoming a family. They were growing into an inseparable unit bonded by love and understanding. Jacob continued to play an integral role in fostering this atmosphere. He took great care to include Lily in fatherly duties whenever possible, from teaching her how to ride her bike without training wheels to helping with homework in subjects she struggled with. He became a steady presence in both their lives. "Dad? Lily tested out the word one evening after struggling through math homework. The term rolled off her tongue cautiously but felt right as she looked at him. Wow, Jacob said, his heart soaring at being given such an important title alongside his role as a friend. I like hearing that. Why don't you call me that whenever you feel like it? Their shared smiles spoke volumes. It was a moment of sweet recognition, the family unit evolving naturally through love rather than obligation. Through ups and downs, navigating moments of vulnerability or joy, they realized they could depend on each other completely. They faced challenges together, supporting Abigail through cravings or mood swings during pregnancy or working side by side to maintain their home despite outside pressures. With each passing day, they grew closer not only through laughter but also by embracing discomforts together, transforming fears into courage fueled by kindness shown daily among them all. In unexpected places filled with warmth underneath rooftops of resilience, their family transformed from strangers brought together by circumstance into a home radiating love. A nurturing cocoon expanding not merely from shared space but also through deep connections formed amid trials faced bravely side by side. As Abigail looked around the cozy cottage that had become their home, she felt a profound sense of gratitude for the journey they had shared. It was hard to believe how far they had come from their initial struggles and uncertainties. The walls were adorned with Lily's colorful drawings, remnants of laughter echoed in every corner, and the warmth of love enveloped them like a comforting blanket. The past few months had not been easy, yet they had faced each challenge with resilience and determination. Abigail marveled at how love had flourished amid difficulties, creating a bond that felt unbreakable. Jacob had stepped into his role as a father with grace, nurturing both her and Lily while providing steady support. His gentle nature brought balance to their household, allowing Abigail to feel secure as she navigated the complexities of pregnancy. One afternoon, as she sat on the porch with Jacob and Lily watching the golden sun dip below the horizon, Abigail reflected on their life together. I never imagined I could feel so happy after everything we've been through, she said softly, her voice filled with emotion. It feels like we've found our way to something beautiful. Jacob smiled warmly at her words, reaching over to squeeze her hand. Love has an incredible way of transforming lives, he replied thoughtfully. When we allow it to flourish, it creates strength where there once was fear. He glanced at Lily, whose laughter rang out as she chased fireflies in the gathering dusk. Look at her, Abigail said with a smile, pride swelling in her chest. She's blossoming just like our garden. Indeed, Lily had grown more confident and imaginative with each passing day, her creativity nurtured by both Abigail and Jacob's encouragement. Together they celebrated small victories, from learning new skills to completing projects around the house. Each shared experience brought them closer together as a family. As they prepared for the arrival of the baby, excitement buzzed in the air like an electric current. They painted the nursery in soft pastel colors and filled it with handmade decorations crafted during cozy evenings spent together. Lily eagerly contributed by creating a mobile adorned with colorful paper stars that danced gently in the breeze whenever they opened the window. During this time of preparation, Abigail also found joy in connecting with neighbors who had become friends. People who rallied around them with kindness and generosity. Invitations to join community gatherings became frequent. Each event further solidified their sense of belonging. With every shared meal or story exchanged under starlit skies, they experienced an outpouring of support that only deepened their family ties. Abigail recalled how uncertain she once felt about being pregnant again at 50. How fear had clouded her heart when she first learned she was expecting. Yet here she was now, surrounded by unconditional love and friendship that shielded her from those worries. The anticipation of welcoming a new life into their already vibrant household filled her with joy rather than trepidation. In quiet moments spent gazing at Jacob or listening to Lily's animated chatter about future adventures, imagining all the possibilities ahead, Abigail realized that happiness was not merely an absence of struggle but rather a presence of love that thrived despite challenges faced. As they embraced these precious moments together, the three of them navigating life's ups and downs, they found strength within one another that would carry them forward into whatever awaited them beyond the horizon. With hearts intertwined through shared experiences woven into stories waiting to be told, their family was proof that love could indeed flourish even amid difficult circumstances. In this nurturing cocoon built on resilience and hope layered over kindness, they discovered richness beyond measure. A life abundant not just in material wealth but filled instead with laughter echoing through humble walls where love reigned supreme against any storm encountered along their path.